Before you take your vehicle to the MOT station, there's a few simple checks you can do to avoid having a wasted journey or unnecessary retests. Knowing some of these simple tips will allow you to put things right before test day, and when you meet the MOT men, you'll be smiling. All tyres must be matched with regard to type and size on each axle. The grooves of the tread pattern must be at least 1.6mm deep throughout a continuous band. This must cover the central 3/4 of the width of the tyre and the entire outer circumference. Check the wheel rim for any distortion, cracks and damage, and also check the wheel nuts and bolts. Rotate the tyre, checking for any bulges or damage to the sidewall. If you have an externally fitted spare wheel carrier, it must be securely fitted and mounted. It's also worth checking the condition of the spare wheel, because although not part of the MOT, if you're stopped by the police, it is an offence to carry an illegal spare. The first thing to do is check the condition of the flexible brake pipes. To do this, you need to pressurise the brake master cylinder, so get somebody else to do that for you. Then you need to look at all your metal brake lines, make sure there's no surface rusting or anything worse. Brake back plates, caliper securing devices, discs, drums, pads and shoes all need visually checking for condition and contamination, and also look at any linkages or cables. Take a look at the condition of the brake pedal rubber, and also check that the travel of the pedal isn't too excessive. Check for excessive travel and ensure the handbrake works on both wheels and is able to hold the van on a steep hill. The vehicle structure is difficult to define exactly and is really at the discretion of the MOT inspector. Generally, this means a hole or a significantly weakened structure. There must be no sharp edges or projections caused by corrosion or rust of any kind. A vehicle can fail if there is too much rust in a prescribed area, which means within 30 centimetres of certain components, e.g. brakes, steering, suspension, seatbelt mountings, just to name a few. Other common areas that can cause failure include chassis members, outriggers and jacking points. Bounce each corner of the van to check that the shock absorbers are working properly, in other words that the van doesn't keep bouncing. Once the vehicle is jacked up and securely sat on axle stands, you can have a look for the steering and suspension components. Now on certain vehicles you may wish to remove the underbelly tray first. The steering wheel must be attached securely and the upper bearings of the column should be free from excessive wear. Free play in the steering must not be excessive. However, this is at the discretion of the MOT inspector. You're checking for any discernible play in the steering joints, ball joints, tie rod ends, the swivel pins and the drag links. Also, when the steering is on full lock, make sure that the brake hoses are not stretched and that the tyres do not foul when it's on the opposite lock. Check your wheel bearings by rocking from 12 to 6 o'clock, 3 to 9 o'clock and give them a spin to make sure that they're smooth, not rumbling or grating. Make sure that all steering components have either nylocks or split pins through carcellated nuts, and also that no grease is leaking from ball joints or fluid from your shock absorbers. Most vehicles manufactured after 1965 must have seat belts. However, wherever a seatbelt is fitted, they must be inspected for the following: security of seatbelt mountings, the locking stalks, security and operation of the locking and release mechanism, condition of webbing, for instance any fraying or heavy wear, and the retraction of a belt if it is a non-static system. Wipers and washers must be working correctly. Ensure that your rubbers aren't perished, and please do top up your washer bottle before you go for the test. The horn must work and the controls should be easily reached by the driver, although it does not have to be on the steering wheel. The volume must be sufficiently loud to pedestrians and other road vehicles. All lights must work, including fog and reversing lights if fitted. Remember to check the silvering on the headlight reflector, as your vehicle will fail the MOT if this is tarnished or rusty. Headlights should be correctly aligned. Indicators and hazard lights must work, as must the self-cancelling function of the indicator switch. Within Zone A of the windscreen, stickers or damage must be no larger than a 10mm circle. Stickers or minor damage should not restrict the driver's view. In the rest of the viewable area, damage or stickers must be no larger than 40mm. no hanging obstructions from the rear view mirror, including furry dice. VIN numbers must be permanently displayed, consistent and legible. Registration plates must be UK plates of the correct size, style and spacing, plus you cannot create words, for example by moving the mounting bolts. And finally, check that it's legal for your year of van to have black and silver plates. Generally speaking, L registration 73 is the last year that this is acceptable. The exhaust must be gas tight and securely mounted with an acceptable noise level. Now this is something else at the MOT inspector's discretion. Importantly, the tailpipe must not protrude beyond the bodywork and no part of the system must be missing. Check all metal and flexible fuel lines for damage, corrosion or leaks. The fuel filler cap must have a working seal and be secure. Excessive smoking is a failure on all vans. Although you can look for the smoke yourself, emissions tests can only be done with specialised equipment. As a general rule of thumb, pre-1975 vehicles are visual smoke test only.